Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wingers and Defenders episode one of our show. Today, I am hosting alongside Joe and Jake. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Joe, Spurs fan over here. Very excited to start this show.
Um, my name is Jacob. Depressed Arsenal fan. All you need to know.
All right, so let's get right into it. We'll be discussing the last two fixtures of Match Week 29 and also Match Week 30. So, the first big game we were going to talk about is the Manchester United Tottenham Hotspur 1-1 draw. Joe, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, sure, why not? So I thought Spurs came out and we played a very good match, actually. I don't want to say get robbed because I do think that was a penalty, albeit a soft penalty to Pogba. I thought we came out and we played very well. We played some Mourinho ball. I mean, we're not playing Poch ball anymore where we're going to go up the field, control possession, and win games like that. We're going to beat teams on the counterattack. And we have speed on our wings. We have Steven Bergwijn, who's very fast. We saw him get that goal off that either deflection or assist from Aurier, where he kind of just scooted past Harry Maguire and other players and was able to just get in on goal like that. And we have Son on the other wing, and we all know how fast Son is. We saw what he did against Burnley earlier this year. So I think what we're doing is it was a good game plan. We really stifled Manchester United for most of that game. They did have most of the possession, but I mean, we've seen the history of Jose Mourinho. That's the way he plays football. So once Pogba came into the game, everything really changed. But Pogba's a world-class player. It's not like no one's expecting Eric Dyer to take the ball away from Paul Pogba. That's just not really realistic at this point. But I thought he really did. His tactics worked out well, and I think some people like to say he's a washed manager, but I think he's still got the juice.
Yeah, to add on to that, I agree that United were struggling to break you guys down, especially until also along with Pogba, Greenwood came on for Dan James, and that made a big effect. But yeah, for the entire game, for whatever it was, 60 minutes before Pogba showed up on the field, it was such a compact defense that United could not break you down. Rashford was coming off an injury, so he was rusty. I mean, the whole team was rusty in general, but they really had trouble breaking you guys down in general. And then Bergwijn. And on top of that, De Gea did not parry it. He put it, obviously, it went right into the net off his hands. He's struggled at times, which we all know about, and it's debatable to say whether he's a good goalie and consistent or not. But overall, I think it was a very good performance for Spurs.
Yeah, looking at I guess Spurs setup, Jose is the type of manager that will sit in and let the opposition run at him, and he will stay compact. He will play a defense where, he's going to let the wingers, whoever attacking them, have their chances, but he's going to stay compact. And I think Man U, this is a good example of that. I mean, looking at the notes, Man U had 61% possession, I think, 12 shots. That's something that Mourinho can live with as long as he gets a result. Mourinho is very results driven, and I think that his Spurs team is showing that they'll get results. It may not be the prettiest of games, may not be the most spectacular football, but he's going to get results for you. For me personally, I don't rate Mourinho that highly, just because I don't like his style of football. But I can't argue against him getting results. And this Man U Spurs game was a result for him. Now I think if you ask him, and I think off of the post-game interviews, he believes that Spurs should have won that game, and they threw that game away because of the penalty. And he's very competitive in that aspect. But I think that 1-1, I think, is a fair result at the end of the game. If you weigh possession and how well Spurs played and Pogba coming on and Greenwood having effects on the game, I think 1-1's a fair enough result, to be fair.
I agree completely. I think that that was it was a beautiful game of football, to be fair. I mean, if you're saying that might have been probably the best game, in my opinion, of the restart since then. I mean, you've had games where you had a bunch of goals, but no game was as intense where there was a full 90 minutes where there was action nonstop and it was close the entire game. So it was just a fun game to watch, and yeah, and I think one thing I do want to touch on, which I know some Spurs fans were talking about, and Christian brought up earlier to us privately, was Harry Kane, what's going on with him right now? He looked very rusty this game. And I mean, I don't know if you guys saw what Jose Mourinho said today. Basically, was talking about his strikers. He's had Drogba, he's had Benzema, he's had Cristiano Ronaldo, who are all extremely good strikers, and how they put up insane numbers while he was manager. And now there's some people saying, notably some Arsenal fans and rival fans, who say Harry Kane is kind of washed at this point. Maybe he's already hit his peak. But I don't know about that. I think he's injured. It was the first game back. And I think another issue with him for this past game was the fact that you had Lamela playing the 10 role, and Lamela is not creative at all. I mean, he's just not a creative player. I think it'd be interesting to see what he does with Delhi when Delhi comes back now that his suspension's over. But I think Harry Kane gets a lot of heat from a lot of different people, but which I think is a little uncalled for. But I think he'll be great under Mourinho personally.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to Arsenal's struggle. In their match week 29 game, they lost to Manchester City 3-0. And in their match week 30 game, they lost to Brighton 2-1. Jake, can we get your thoughts as an Arsenal fan?
I mean, if we're going to go to the City game, which I was excited for, I think all Arsenal supporters, you know, how crazy they are and toxic also, how much they were, like, looking forward to this match. Even though they weren't expecting a good result, they wanted to see Arsenal in action. And I think through the first 40 minutes, we got a decent side that was organized. They were compact. Arsenal looked like they were going to give up a goal eventually, but getting to halftime was the goal for Arsenal. Get to halftime 0-0. You don't want to have any mishaps along the way. But there was one problem for Arsenal that it didn't come down to Arteta. It didn't come down to City. It didn't come down to Arsenal's attack. It was just one player. I don't really want to get into, David Luiz kind of sabotaged the game, to be fair, in all regards, because I think City, even though they dominated possession-wise, offensively, controlled the game from the midfield, which I was expected, David Luiz gave up 2 goals that basically took Arsenal out of the game completely. And when Arteta set us up in our starting lineup, we have Saka, who usually plays on the left side, playing on the right, Pepe on the bench, Ozil on 300 bags a week, just not on the team sheet at all. And we were looking at a defensive battle all game. And when David Luiz makes those mistakes and gets sent off, we're going to pay the price. And I think if David Luiz either doesn't come on because Pablo Mari doesn't get injured, maybe looking at a 1-0 or 2-0 loss, respectable. But since David Luiz came on and played one of the worst games football I've ever seen, we kind of just got – I don't really know what else to really say. Like, it was shambles towards the end. We just got overrun. And I really credit Bernd Leno, who I think personally is one of the most underrated keepers in the league, even in Europe, just because his defense is poor. But as a shot stopper, he's one of the best in Europe, in my opinion. But he couldn't really handle City's pressure towards the end of the match, and you could see that. And we had to pay the price for it, at least in the City game.
Joe?
Yeah, I have to say, Arteta got his tactics right against City. Now we can make the argument against Brighton in a little bit. Did he get his tactics right that game? But City, he definitely got his tactics right. He just had to put in one of the worst defenders in the league out there. I mean, the issue for Arsenal is their back line is made up of the Three Stooges. You got Pablo Mari. He comes in first two minutes of action, he gets injured. Like, okay. You got Mustafi, who basically cost Arsenal top 4 last year. And you got David Luiz, who is to quote my good friend Jacob, a Chelsea agent. So it's just been poor from Arsenal in that way. But that City game, I think that they played a pretty good game. I mean, Bernd Leno is an elite keeper. I just think, I mean, that Sterling goal, that happens. But, the 2 goals they allowed were just David Luiz. And, I mean, all Arteta needs to do is fix up that back line right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think certainly that's the spot in the field that's got to get fixed the most for Arsenal's starting 11 especially. They have plenty of attack players that can really affect the game. You have Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe, Ozil when he's on the field, Martinelli, Saka. There's plenty of options going forward. It's really just a testament to them trying to figure out center backs that they really need to ultimately sign or out of the academy, wherever you want to find it. They're going to have to somehow fix that defensive stability because there's none of it besides really Bernd Leno. And Bellerin's now back healthy. He's looked half decent. Tierney's back from injury. That's a big deal for them. But I think especially for Arsenal, it's just going to come down to them signing or finding two center backs to shore up that defense.
Yeah, it's going to be a task. I think at this point, we've had center back problems for years now. We can't find a really good center back partnership. We haven't found that in years, and we're still looking for it. And we have a lot of dead wood at the club. We have a lot of center backs at our club right now. From the under 23 level up to our senior players, we have, I think, maybe 8 or 9 center backs, and we cannot find 2 that are consistently good for us. So I think that's something that Arteta has to address. One's coming in with William Saliba coming in this summer, very promising, and we hope that he has high hopes for him. But we need someone else. I think we need to get rid of players as well at that center back position. That's where we have to start. Arsenal throughout the whole organization, to be fair, needs a whole shakeup. But starting off on the field, center backs need to be addressed for sure.
Jake, can we get your thoughts on the injury to Bernd Leno and just that play in general and everything that had as a result of what happened on that specific altercation, I guess?
Well, I didn't see the altercation live. I wasn't around, but I did see it afterwards, and I spoke to you and Joe about this. In the heat of the moment, I think Maupay deserves a red because I feel as though I don't think he had malicious intent. I don't think he was trying to deliberately hurt Leno. I just think he was being overly reckless and clumsy. If you look at the challenge, they're both, it's a 50-50. Leno gets to the ball first, and once Maupay jumps, leaves his feet, he's leaning into Leno with his shoulder, and that causes Leno to kind of spin and, injure his leg really badly. I'm thinking he's out for the season. I don't know if we've gotten confirmation from Arsenal if he's actually done for the season or not, but it looked really bad to me. And in the heat of the moment, I'm thinking that's a red. The fact that he didn't even get a yellow for that is really mind-boggling to me. I think that's instantly a yellow at least. A red, I think they go to VAR, maybe look at it. I thought it was a red, but it's just when our team have our backs against the wall and that one of our best players gets injured, emotions run high, and I feel as though that's a red for me personally.
Yep, and then Joe, I think you had some thoughts on Guendouzi and his status in the Arsenal starting 11.
Yes, that man is not one of. He's the most overrated youngster in the Premier League. Okay, this man gets gassed up by all these Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, look what he's done." What has he done? He's had one good game this year, and that was the North London derby. Other than that, what has he done this year? All he does is we had multiple incidents with him this year. We had this incident where he started choking Maupay. We had the incident when he goes up 2-1 to I forget who they played, but he signaled 2-1, and then they ended up, I believe, drawing that game. It's just like, this is a cocky man, and Maupay put it right. Some people at Arsenal, they think they're top of the league. They think they're held to another level, but in reality, they're without Aubameyang and Leno, they're getting relegated. Without those two players, they're getting relegated. They're a mid-table club right now, and they're still acting like they're in the top 6. Which, other than just the sheer size of the club and history of the club, they're not.
You think he should get dropped from the team?
I think for 1 to 2 games, attitude-wise, I think they need to drop him. I think that he's just not good enough where you could tolerate that attitude and say, here, you start. I think they should go with a lineup of Xhaka, Torreira, or Ceballos, and then Ozil. I think you could use those 3 defenders, depending on what type of lineup you're using, like a 4-3-3, 4-3-2-1. I don't think Guendouzi needs to be in that lineup, and I think he's harming his team. He should be suspended. He didn't get suspended, but he's just a card waiting to happen. I mean, remember that play when he basically took out Zaha? I mean, it was a smart play, don't get me wrong, but he should have been sent off for that play. straight up tackle Zaha on a fast break. I mean, he just has a lot of attitude problems that I think you need to fix while he's still young.
I think it's fair. I think in Arsenal, I mean, at least Arteta likes to play a 4-2-3-1, and that two is usually going to be Xhaka and Torreira Guendouzi there. I don't see a problem with bringing Torreira on as said that second CDM. Even though Xhaka has been injured and I don't know he's coming back, and Torreira isn't fit currently. So right now we don't have a CDM to play in that position, which is why yesterday or whenever we played Brighton, we had to play a 4-4-2, change the whole formation completely because we can't. If we drop Guendouzi, the whole formation has to change. We don't have another CDM that can play that role. That's why he has. I don't think I personally think that's why he hasn't dropped him. I don't think Guendouzi has been shocking. He hasn't been the best for sure. I can't lie and say that he's been great for us or outstanding. He has a lot of energy. He's proven that, but he hasn't done well with the energy he has. But dropping him could be the answer. But the problem is we don't have a replacement. We don't have a replacement for that formation. So we either scrap the formation completely or we play him. And, that's kind of where I stand on Guendouzi at least.
Yeah, I think it's big for Arsenal to get back on track. I mean, it's not impossible they can get into a Europa League spot, but for them to get back into that position, they got to start getting points now. And on Thursday, and we're recording this on Monday, they play Southampton on the road, which is not going to be an easy task for them. And then you play Arsenal. Arsenal plays Norwich at home following week, so that's much more easy. But overall, I think Arsenal just got to get going, no matter who's on the field, in order to get a Europa League spot.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know if I want Europa, but we kind of need it for money and if we want to attract players. But personally, I think we should stay out of it. Wherever we finish this year, work from that place next season and try to get Champions League, Europa League next year. But if we want to attract players, we need to get Europa. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so then our fourth topic is Liverpool versus Everton. I am the Liverpool fan. It was a 0-0 draw, very flat game for Liverpool, especially looking to clinch the title as soon as possible. And they were not able to get the 3 points that they desperately needed in that situation to clinch this week against Crystal Palace. But for me, overall, it was a very, like I said, flat performance. No Salah, no Robertson. Both had knocks. Salah was on the bench. Robertson was not in the squad. And Liverpool really didn't create many golden opportunities, which is accredited to Everton's compact defense. They really sat back and really just gave us no opportunities to create, and with Mane and Minamino, who started. And then Oxlade-Chamberlain came on, Origi as well. Firmino didn't really do much as well. But overall, the biggest chances that Liverpool had were on free kicks and set pieces that Alexander-Arnold, I believe, had a couple. Fabinho had one. But overall, it was not anything that we deserved 3 points for. We really didn't create enough. And actually, Everton, if I had to say, were the team that created more, which I think Joe actually said a lot about. And the one big chance I remember vividly was the 80th minute chance, which Calvert-Lewin had a flick, and then Tom Davies hit the ball, and it went off the left post, and it would have went in had Joe Gomez not flicked it a little bit. There was a slight touch. But overall, I think, which Joe and I believe Jake agrees as well, that was a fair result, I guess, in the most part. But if I had to say which team deserved 3 points, actually would be Everton, in my opinion.
I would say Everton probably. If you had to pick a team to win that game, would be Everton. Because if you look at the level of consistency Liverpool has shown this season and what they've been doing, you expect more from them in the situation. Even with Salah and Robertson out, their team should be getting a 1-2-0 victory over Everton probably anyways. But like you said, they didn't create enough. They really only could make anything happen from set pieces. And if you can only really create from set pieces as Liverpool, that may not be enough for you because I think you have so many weapons that you need to be doing in the run of play. So I think Everton and Ancelotti has them organized really well. He's really turned Everton around from where they started at this season, playing compact football, kind of like Jose Mourinho type of play. Very compact, didn't want to give Liverpool any space to create any chances. And I think they executed the plan well. They probably would have wanted to win, but I think it's a fair result.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there, Jake. I think Ancelotti's played very well. I think he's been not played well, managed well. I think he's really turned this Everton side around, which looked like they were in the dumps this early in the season. They were like, are they going to get relegated? Who knows what's going to happen? But he's now that he's had some time with the break to kind of implement his tactics and stuff. I think you're going to see an Everton team next year that they're not going to compete for the league. Maybe a Europa League spot, who knows? But I can see them being a lot more competitive because this year, as someone who likes some players in Everton, I root for them to do well. I think there's potential there with him. I think they have Richarlison's a great player. I mean, he was doing amazing against Liverpool the other day. I mean, he made beautiful runs. I mean, he never really got he never finished, but I mean, he was probably the most dangerous player on the pitch that game. I mean, if we're counting TAA, because Alexander Arnold's a stud. I mean, so some of those free kicks he was this close from banging him home. But I think, yeah, like you said, Christian, very, very even game. The score line was deserved. Both teams didn't really get too many great chances. And I think Liverpool, I think they're going to come out. That was just, a little rust. I think they'll come out, win the league in a few matches, and first time in like 30 years, right?
Yep, that'll be a big one. And then our next topic is one that is definitely going to be interesting to watch, the relegation battle. Joe, you have some interesting takes on who you believe will get relegated.
Yes, I do. Now, let me just get to my notes real quick. So I think it's really West Ham and Bournemouth that think is going to get that last spot that's going to get relegated, because Norwich is definitely going down. Villa's probably going down. I mean, that game against Chelsea that they lost was rough because that was something they needed to win. But let me just double check here, but I'm pretty sure that both Bournemouth and West Ham have the same amount of points right now. So they're both in the same spot, but goal differential favors the Hammers. So, yes, West Ham is in 17th while Bournemouth is in 18th right now. And I think Bournemouth's going to go down, not West Ham. And one of the reasons why is because Bournemouth's schedule is a lot harder. They have to play – still Bournemouth has to play Spurs, Wolves, United, City, and Leicester. Well, in addition to Newcastle, Southampton, and Everton, there's a good chance they get no points there. Best case scenario, I could see them taking 4 points. Then in addition to that, Ryan Fraser's is not agreed to a contract extension with the team, so he could be off the team on June 30th. And we can debate his quality all we want, but he's really one of the better Bournemouth players right now. And then for West Ham still has a difficult schedule too, don't get me wrong. They play Spurs, Chelsea, Newcastle, Burnley, Norwich, United, and Villa. But I could see them scrapping 8 points from these matches. It's important to note, we may say, with their match tomorrow, actually, at the time of this recording on June 22nd, they're playing Spurs tomorrow. And Spurs have not done the double over West Ham since the 2012-2013 season. So there's a decent chance that they could scrap a point there too. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that West Ham has quality on their team still. I think this has just been a poor season for them. I mean, I think they're a mid-table team. I don't think they're a relegation side. But I just can't see West Ham going down right now just based on schedules and quality of the team.
Yeah, for the most part, I definitely agree on that point. West Ham has a lot more quality than Bournemouth. You have the likes of Felipe Anderson, Sebastian Haller, who missed their Wolves match this past match week. But overall, yeah, West Ham has more quality and should, in doing so, get over the line. If I actually had to say over West Ham, I'd actually take Aston Villa possibly as a sneaky pick. They did play well against Sheffield United. And then once Christian Pulisic came on, and we have all of our thoughts on why he should be in this Chelsea starting lineup. But for the most part, Aston Villa was up in that game and had a chance to get 3 points, and if not one, and they were pretty unlucky to get nothing. They do have some tough matchups. Aston Villa has United. They still have Liverpool, Arsenal, still no slouch. They have West Ham, which on the last day will be pivotal because West Ham plays Aston Villa on the last match week, which could be a relegation 6-pointer at that point. We'll have to see. But yeah, I think for the most part, if you want to talk 18th place, I think it's going to be Bournemouth overall.
Yeah, Bournemouth, I think, between West Ham and even Aston Villa, I think Bournemouth has the weakest roster out of those three teams. They played Crystal Palace. Don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. And Crystal Palace was playing great football against them. Crystal Palace is a mid-table side, but if Bournemouth can really want to stay up in the Prem, they have to be able to compete in games. And looked like many times in that Crystal Palace game, they were out of their depth. Zaha could almost pick out any pass he wanted to. Jordan Ayew was getting great finish that he had during that game. The Crystal Palace attack was really just going crazy against Bournemouth. I don't see Bournemouth really being able to stay up if they continue to play poor defensively and unable to create goals as well. Ryan Fraser being there is good for them, but personally, I'm not sure I can see them staying up even if he does stick around with them.
Yep. All right, so we have some more time so we can talk about more topics. So one of the big things that we saw this weekend was Pulisic coming back to the field and scoring for Chelsea off the bench. And it's definitely an interesting topic to talk about with Timo Werner coming in, Hakim Ziyech is coming in. So I guess for us, it's all of us are living in the United States, and it's big for Pulisic to be scoring and being effective for Chelsea so that he can be effective for the U.S. national team. What are your thoughts on those signings for Chelsea and where he stands in that roster and the depth chart going forward?
Well, it doesn't seem like Frank Lampard likes him that much. I mean, it's unfortunate because he's playing what's the guy's name? Loftus-Cheek over him, and Loftus-Cheek's a center mid, not a winger or mid or outside midfielder. I mean, you saw Pulisic come on and he changed the game for them. I mean, given it was a beautiful cross that he was just able to finish into the net, but still scored the goal. I mean, there's a lot of people who are going to miss that shot. So I think that I don't know. I don't know how he's going to get in that team, even though I think that he's going to be a stud. I think he's a stud player right now. He has a lot of potential. I just don't see I don't think Lampard's going to play him over Ziyech, and I don't think he's going to get in over Timo. So I think maybe a transfer is going to be in the cards sometime in the future because you can't have that quality sitting on the bench. He's not going to be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what formation Frank wants to play. If Frank wants to play a 4-4-2 with Werner and Tammy Abraham up top, I can see that. I can see Pulisic coming in from the left or the right. I mean, he's very well capable of playing on either side, really. I think he can fit into that team depending on the formation. I think Ziyech coming in he's gonna be a definite starter for sure. And we don't know Chelsea is also interested in Kai Havertz. If Kai Havertz gets into this team, someone playing in the central midfield role and an attacking position, it's going to make it more difficult for Pulisic to maybe work his way into the squad. I think Frank, obviously, or Lampard has really shown that he hasn't favored Christian as much as other players. That's Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek coming back from injury yesterday. I think Pulisic either needs to settle at Chelsea and get minutes, or he's going to have to move eventually. I think he's good enough to make the starting lineup, but it depends on Lampard's decision to change the formation or to just include him in the side. I think he's got enough quality personally.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, going off of that, we've seen him have quality and have him have very good performances. There was one match at the early part of the season where he had a hat trick against Burnley, and we see it yesterday. He slots it in. Yes, it's inside the 6, and it should be buried by most people, but you have to get into the position to bury it. So that's a good run, and there's things that you can't see that most people don't look at, but in reality, he gets to that position. And yes, there are people. If Havertz comes in, which would be a very interesting signing, and I would be really confused on why they're very worried about more attackers when in reality, defensively, they should be looking at center backs, maybe a left back.
Definitely.
It's kind of a weird thing to see if they want that push, but I doubt Havertz gets in there, but we'll see. But, yeah, for the most part, I think Pulisic, depending on formation, like Jake said, is what's going to be the key because We don't know if Tammy Abraham's going to play with Werner or one of them's going to play. They also have Giroud, who just got a 1-year extension, which is, I guess, and he started yesterday, so he does trust Giroud certainly, and they're really stacked in the midfield. But I think, yeah, depending on what formation Chelsea plays, that's going to determine whether or not Pulisic plays on a consistent basis, which I believe he should be playing over the likes of Hudson-Odoi has been injured. Loftus-Cheek playing out of position doesn't really make sense, which is also part of the reason why they were down 1-0 to Villa until they made the switch. But yeah, overall, I think the Pulisic interesting playing time dilemma is going to be interesting for not only him, but just the U.S. national team fold in general.
Definitely.
All right, let's see what else. I think that's all we have. Well, that's all we have for the first episode of the Wingers and Defenders. This is Christian, Joe, and Jake. We will be giving you more episodes in the future, but for the next episode, stay tuned.
Come on, you Spurs.